Trick.
Send them in. Hey, I was told to report for a test. Take a seat. You know, it's days like today that remind me why I got into these things. Yeah, right there. Oh, okay. You know what we called you here today? Nope. We're gonna ask you a few questions. Just normal questions, and we know that you wouldn't lie to us, right? Yeah. Does this game always have to be Rise of Queensdale? Well, yeah, unfortunately, yes. It's a very important part of the test. Anyway, you know, when I grew up on Giant Lion on Wall Street, I wasn't very good at taking tests. Trick-taking knowledge is a factor in this, so please pay attention. Oh, trick-taking. Oh, man. When I went to Duck on Wall, on Portrait on Wall University, I wasn't very good at taking tests. Please, Trick, can we get on with the test? Okay, so you're walking in the desert, right? And somebody wants to play a trick-taking game with you. And so they offer to play Time Palette Tricks. Time Palette Tricks? I don't know what that is. I didn't grow up in cracked in half Lion on Wall world. Have you heard of Ghost of Christmas? Yeah. They're the same thing. So someone offers to play Ghost of Christmas with you. And what do you say? Oh yeah, I heard of that on cracked in half Lion on Wall news. Interesting. Trick, we're gonna get to brass tacks here. Are you RoBoTrick? No, in fact my friends call me Draco. Oh, okay. I guess you're free to go. Alright, sorry for wasting your time. Bye. Okay then. That Trick, or Draco, whatever his name was. He's such a human. It's crazy how much of a human he actually is. It's cool hearing about his story growing up on Lion on Wall Lane. When I went to Duck on Wall, on Portrait on Wall University. Time Palette? I don't know what that is. I didn't grow up in cracked in half Lion on Wall world. But RoBoTrick, we asked him if he was RoBoTrick. He said he wasn't, and robots can't lie. The B. This B, why is this B capitalized? If this B capitalized, then why isn't the I or the C, the K or the R capitalized? If we're just capitalizing letters, there would be more capitalized here. Wait, there's something going on here. There's a pattern. This B would actually look really good. It would look like this I and this C. It should be lowercase. It would look better. If it was Robo, then Trick, R and T would just be capitalized, not this B. That means this B is actually part of this word. This T is part of this word. This is Robot Rick. It's Rick! It's Robot Rick! The greatest trick the devil ever took was convincing the world that he wasn't a robot. Bye! I'm gonna get away now. Bye! I'm gonna get away, bye! Bye! Oh, well, we couldn't catch Trick. Hey, welcome to Taylor's Trick-Taking Table. I'm Detective Taylor, and welcome to the second half. It's kind of a wild surprise that Trick, kind of the nemesis of the channel this entire time, was actually a robot. And even worse, his name was Rick, which Patrick can attest to is a rough go of it. I am down to my last cigarette, my Lucky, and I'm actually doing, this is just a pack a day habit for me, so not too bad. But if you could read the title and watch that long intro, you know we are covering RoBoTrick, or Robot Rick, you never know. It is by Domi, and the reason it's sealed is because the amazing Ty, the amazing Ty, has gifted this copy to give away to the channel to celebrate 2255 subscribers. So, oh my gosh, being gone a month, already hitting another milestone. This is so amazing. Thank you so much. It means the absolute world. And it's so cool that people in the community like Ty are just like, hey, do you want to give this game away? I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. So Ty is going to have up on his site, I think, a couple copies of this on trickyimports.com. So check it out. And I think the start of the second half is just gonna have some like stragglers, some games that I heard about or had played during this, month or 5-week hiatus that I thought were really cool. So he'll have some of them, I believe, on Tricky Imports. Grain of salt, Ty is a friend, so keep that in mind. But the hook to RoBoTrick is it's a 3-player only game. But there's a 4th dummy player, Rick or Draco, and they have their hand face up and they have rules that they must abide by. So players can understand what they're gonna play. And what's important about what they're gonna play is that's how players score. It's a huge part of how players score. So I'm gonna go to the table and teach you how to play. But before, I forgot to say, I'm giving this away. So thanks to Ty, we think we'll give it away to someone. If you want to win in the comments, put down your favorite movie. We're talking movies. I don't think I've done that yet. Put down your favorite movie. We'll pick someone to send this out to. And if you don't get it, no worries. Ty will definitely have a copy or two on Tricky Imports soon. Anyway, let's go to the table and I'll show you how to play. And thank you again so much. It is so crazy that we're at 2255 subscribers. It is absolutely wild. And here's to the second half. All right, later y'all. The deck in RoBoTrick is made up of 4 suits numbered 1 through 13. Below each number, there's a point value, which I'll explain for the scoring later. RoBoTrick is a 3-player only game, but Rick is one of the players. They're going to play kind of a dummy hand, which I'll set up here in a little bit, and Rick is going to be positioned in between 2 players. You're going to play 3 rounds, where Rick actually moves to in between the next players clockwise, and then after that, the next player in between clockwise, so Rick will kind of move around. Rick is going to be run by these AI cards, which I'll explain and set up in a little bit. But for now, part of the setup is you're going to shuffle the cards, deal 12 to each player, including Rick. You're going to have 4 set aside. You're going to flip the top one of the set aside deck, and that's going to be the trump suit for the round. So green is the trump suit. Next, we're going to take Rick's hand and we're going to splay it out in front. Also, we're going to shuffle all of these AI cards. We're going to get 3, 1 per round, and we're going to flip up the first one here. So as you can see here, this kind of has rules that Rick will follow over the course of the game, which I'll explain in a little bit, but let's fast forward and I will put their hand out. So here we have Rick's hand on display here. It's going to be a little bit messy just because of the size of the table, but every hand will start with Rick leading to the trick. Every first trick is going to be Rick leading to the trick. So Rick is going to find out what they lead. Every time they lead, you're going to look over here on the lead section of the card. The card has 3 things. Let me just lift this up so you can get a better view of it. There is what they do when they follow suit, what they do when they can't follow suit, and then what they do when they lead. So you look at the primary thing that they do. As you can see, when they follow suit, they'll always play their lowest. So for example, maybe later on in the round, if one of us leads a card, you're going to look at if they are in that suit, and if they are, they're going to play their lowest, judging by this round for Rick. So for example, if up here this person plays a green, Rick would play their 3 in green because that's the lowest. Next, looking at unfollowing, maybe later on in the round, maybe Rick has already played that blue, so they're out of blue. If someone were to lead blue and Rick can't follow, they would look at the unfollow rules, and they would first look at the suit that they're longest in, and then they would play their lowest in that suit. We'll all explain this later, and I'll have good examples. But for now, we're looking at the leading. So they are going to look first what their highest number is. Looking over here, it's probably a 13. Yeah, they have 3 13s. So as you can see, if it's tied on what they have as their highest, you're going to look at the secondary primary condition. So this says what suit they're shortest in. So that would be blue. So now, as you can tell, between the 3 13s, blue is the shortest. So players can kind of know exactly how Rick is going to behave. So Rick is actually going to be leading this 13 blue into the first trick. Before the first trick actually begins, players are going to be passing 2 cards to the left. So let's assume that happened. Now going to Pokédex hand, they are going to have to follow suit blue if they have it. Well, looking at the trick, 13 is the highest in blue. So it is kind of likely that the robot will be winning this trick. That's because the only way Rick wouldn't win the trick is if one of the human players was out of blue and they short-suited in green. So Pokédex is looking at their hand, and for reasons I'll explain in a little bit, they're going to lead, or they're going to follow suit in a low blue. So they're going to play that 6 blue. Coming to Gizmo here, the cat, they have to follow suit so they can only play that blue. That was their only blue. Finally, coming to Crypto over here, they noticed that since they have blue, they are going to lose this trick to Rick. And so they're going to play that 3. Why Crypto played low is because if Rick ever wins a trick, if the robot player ever wins a trick, players are going to take the card they played into their score pile as negative points. So this is -3 for Crypto, -8 for Gizmo, and -6 for the Pokédex player. Usually the points are just the rank. As you can see, 6 was 6, and then over here for Gizmo, the 8 was 8. But once it gets to 10 or higher, it's actually just 10 points. Usually, the 12 is actually also, 10 points, and the 11 is also 10 points. The 13, however, is actually the only different one. It's actually worth 15 points. So that's a special one. But so Rick won the trick. They are going to take that trick and then lead again. And they are going to lead with their highest card. So it's either that 13 or that 13. They check what they're shortest in to know which one they want. So this has 4, this has 5. So they're actually going to lead the 13 green, which is the highest card in the game. That's highest trump. This specific version of Rick is actually a little bit brutal, but we will play just one more trick of this brutal Rick just to show how it's working here. So players, they know they're going to lose this trick, so they're trying to play low, right? And they do have to follow suit, so maybe every player is trying to just play green as low as they can. If you don't have green, you can play whatever you want, so maybe this player, since they know they're going to lose, is going to play a low 1, because that's only 1 minus point. In the third trick, Rick is going to lead really high again, because that's just what they do. And so they're going to play that 13. Coming to Pokédex here, they're out of red, thankfully. So they are now going to play a trump into the trick. And Gizmo down here is just going to follow suit with a red. And Crypto's also going to follow suit with a red. So when you actually win the trick, and not the robot, you are going to take the robot's card that they were played as positive points. And then you're going to discard the rest of the cards. So the Pokédex here got 15 points out of that play. And then the Pokédex is going to lead to the next trick. If they lead green, you can also always know what the robot's going to do, because led green, they have to follow, they're going to follow with their lowest. So you know they are going to play a 3. So players can kind of bank off that information. As you can see, whenever you win a trick, you take what the robot played as positive points. So Gizmo here played the highest of the lead suit. It happened to be trump, so they definitely win it. And so they are going to get 3 points in front of them. And then again, this gets discarded and then they lead. Jumping ahead a little bit, let's say it's to Crypto's turn to lead, and they lead a suit that Rick does not have. So then we would look at the unfollow section. And as you can see here, the primary thing it does is it looks at the suit it's longest in and plays its lowest card. So first, you see the suit it's longest in, that'd be this one over here, and then it's their lowest card, this 1. If later on it was like this, and the same thing happened where it was lead blue, you would look at the longest, and then if that's ever tied, you would look at the lowest no matter what. So as you can see here, it's this 4. If this was tied in a weird way like this, where if both of these are the longest and these are both of the lowest, then you would just go A, B, C, D, kind of, as you can see here, this tie break here. So this A is what would be played. Jumping forward to a later trick, let's say it's Crypto's turn, they lead the blue, and every other player, including Rick, was off suit. So Crypto would win the trick. If, however, they already have 3 face-up cards as positive points, 1 from earlier times where they beat the robot and won the trick, they will actually have to take any further won tricks as negative points instead of positive points. Players would play out the rest of the tricks in the hand, and then you would count up all your points. So any of your face-up cards, which are 3 at most, are positive points. As you can see here, 6 plus 6 plus 8, that's 20. But then they lose minus points for any flip-down, face-down cards. So that's 4 plus 12, so they made 8 points because they got minus 12 plus 20. Gizmo over here got 3 points, but sadly in their minus points pile, they got minus 19. So they actually got minus 16 for the round. After you calculate scores, Robot Rick is going to move in between the next players clockwise. So this is all going to shift. They're going to get a different protocol. So you can just either discard this one or, put it to the bottom, and then you have a new one here. You can shuffle, redeal the same way, and you're going to play 3 rounds that way, and whoever has the most points at the end wins. So that is Robot Rick, or RoBoTrick. What a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful game. I love the idea of a game that is meant for 3, only for 3. It really gets to the core of what is the best player count for this game. I like a focused game. I know there are some people who, they want solo modes for party games, or they want a game that shouldn't go past 4 to go to, 5 and 6. I think there is something nice about a game that is unabashedly for one player count. And it works so well. Usually in solo games, or sometimes even multiplayer games where they don't quite work with a certain number of players, so they add that dummy hand, it often feels strapped on and fiddly and tedious and kind of like I wish I was just playing with the right player count. But in this, since the dummy hand is so integral to the gameplay, and it's not like this plays 3 to 4 and the dummy hand is just a fourth player, you know, to stand in. But the fact that you are always playing off the dummy hand, it makes it so, it's this really cool system where everyone is paying attention to it because it's such like a focal point of the game. That's how you score. It's almost like constantly on what everyone's mind is. Whenever you lead a card or whenever Draco is about to lead a card, everyone's like, okay, calculating. And it seems like one of the most interesting things that I've seen in the game that some don't do it too well, like you Chronicle. I think it's a lot of discussion, but it's almost like players telling other players what they can play and how they can get out of certain situations. And it feels like a weird mix of like community, but like I'm trying to make you lose, so not community, and I'm like putting the screws to you. But in RoBoTrick, it's that same idea of Chronicle where you're discussing, there's a lot of discussion. And I've talked about this in the past where like CMYK, some people behind that publishing company, they like games with discussion and they love like fostering discussion in games. And this does that in such an interesting way where players are discussing what what Draco can do. They're discussing how it's scoring. They're like sometimes often being like, oh, because Trump's out that way, Robo's gonna win like a few tricks. Like everyone is almost like, okay, be wary. But then when it comes back to your hand, you only know that information. And so you're playing off it still, and you are still being competitive in an interesting way. So there's this like weird community in this discussion of what Robo is gonna do. What I keep calling him Robo, what Draco is gonna do. But there's still like a good dollop of competition and intrigue and surprise in the trick play. The cards themselves are just so interesting. When you see on a round that Draco is going to be leading super high, you know that you're probably going to lose a little bit more than usual, and you should probably pass some of those high cards. And what to pass is super interesting. I actually love the hands more where the robot is kind of middling in what they're going to play, and you're not sure how to play it. That is one con of the game for me, is you always pass left. I wish it was, you know, pass right, pass left, and then hold or something. But I feel like I love the robot cards in the game. It's cool to have it dealt for a hand and look out and be like, okay, what is Draco going to play? Are they going to be more aggressive, like in this one where they're leading their highest? That's always really interesting. Or you can play it by their hand too, like do they have a lot of trump? And having that inform the passing. I like also when the card is a little ambiguous, like it follows low but leads high or vice versa, and you're not really sure what to hold on to. And it's cool how this game can become avoidance and taking tricks and sometimes sloughing or sometimes undercutting the other person. It's my favorite type of trick taker where you can get the hearts feel of avoidance and you can get the boast or nothing feel of trying to get tricks, and you get everything you want in a trick taker in different hands. Sometimes it's an avoidance hand, sometimes it's not. And I love that feeling of how the game can like balance back and forth between those two, hand to hand, or even just like within a hand, which is really cool. Woo! I am malfunctioning. As you can tell, this hiatus has done a number to my brain. Small note about the production. I think the cards are great. The art is fantastic. I love the font and stuff. I do wish the cards were indices on all four sides. It's always a little annoying to flop them, but that's maybe just a personal gripe. And I also think for a game that is about robots and has a pretty like exacting graphic design, I think this is actually incredibly busy and a bit annoying to read. I don't know why they did that. I mean, the art style is kind of fun, but it is like a little unclear how to read this from like across the table. And often when the robot wasn't near me, it was a little bit harder to read. I mean, these are kind of nitpicky gripes. That and again, the passing. I wish the passing was left, right, and hold. But overall, I think this game is an amazing implementation of a dummy hand, an amazing scoring where players are seeing what they can score or seeing what they can score in their hands, because you're going to score either negative points for what you have in your hands or positive points of what Robo has or negative points of what Robo has. And so you know exactly kind of what you can score and when you can score. And like as the hand whittles down and as you've either won you know, 1 or 2 or 3 even, of the tricks in positive, you know where you're at. You know you need to start avoiding now. You know you want to start getting a trick now. It's really cool how everything's just balanced. You get that avoidance and you get that trick taking in such clever ways. The fact that you have 3 pods is so, oh, it's just a chef's kiss number. Everything is so dialed in. This game is so honed. I know this is kind of like a reprint of an earlier version, I believe, of RoBoTrick, and I think it just shows how this game is. I feel like this is very finely tuned. It just sings. It's so fun. I am gushing about this game, and I think it deserves it. I will say, if I had a negative, besides the passing and the nitpicky on like some of the graphic design stuff, is I think it'll take a hand or a game or 2 to understand how to play with a robot, handle the robot, understand what's going to happen. I still make mistakes in a game. I think it's a little hard to intuit sometimes what the robot is going to do. So I will say there's maybe a hand, maybe 2, maybe 3 of a learning curve. Beyond that, I think the game is absolutely wonderful. It lets players be aggressive, do whatever they want, and, well, not whatever they want. I mean, Robo still has rules that you must follow sometimes. But I do think it's fun to see players' styles coming out. I always love that in a game. And it's genuinely just a kind of has-it-all trick taker. So, absolutely recommend RoBoTrick. Big as a seal. And what a great way to start off the second half. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch y'all here on the channel next week. All right, later.